Live. All right, Don Berube, 135 River Road, Planning Board.
Kip McDaniel, Select Board Rep.
Carrie Mackinnon, Community Development Director.
Adam Stand-all, 9 Edward Drive.
Michael Lawton, 3 Asa Drive.
Sandy Crystal, 1 Shoreview Drive.
Thank you. All right, get right into new business. We have the Energy Committee to discuss an energy plan. Who's presenting that for us today?
Us.
All right,
Do you want to come up to the table first?
Thanks for putting us in your agenda tonight, guys. My name is Chris Moore on the Bow Energy Committee. I'm at 41 Hampshire Hills Drive.
I'm Steve Elgert at 47 Putney Road. So we're here to try to start a dialogue between our committee and your group. It's our understanding that you usually have a 10-year process of coming up with plans for the town,
oh yeah, master plan.
master plan. And we're wondering if we can contribute to that in terms of our involvement with our interest in the energy of the town.
So, I mean, the Energy Committee, that's something that the Select Board must have put together and.
So, yeah, and part of this is just kind of figuring out where you guys are in the process, if you have even thought of it. Yeah, which I'm sure. Right.
I think it's what, like 3 years away before.
It's a good time away.
Yeah, 2017 was the last.
Yeah. So we have a mission of creating, whether it's a standalone plan or an integrated chapter in the master plan for both. So part of this is just trying to figure out where you guys are, if we should start working on our standalone plan. And then at the time, when the time comes to sort of integrate it into, or, if you are thinking, as a group to start planning the, start, with the revisions to the master plan. If we can just be of assistance to you at all, technical assistance. There are resources out there for specific energy chapters in master plans that we can help, bring to the table. So I guess it's more of just sort of a, kind of wondering where you guys are and letting you know that we are here and it's part of our mission to create this plan for the town.
We're not really anywhere with the master plan.
Yeah.
It was something that we did go, 5 years ago, it got finished.
Yep.
Since then, all our staff in town has changed and there's been a lot in the whole planning department. So as time flies along, that's something that, it's probably pretty good that you're here asking us this, because it's gonna be a little nudge to say, hey, time's ticking.
Yeah.
But it does sound, for you to start working on what you want to put in there, which, I've got no idea what that is.
Could you share with us a little bit of the types of things that are typically included in energy plans?
Well, we're in the beginning stages of looking into that in terms of what towns have incorporated into their plans. And it varies. And the thing is, energy touches everything from water to, the building codes to, it's quite,
To
everything.
procurement of vehicles and
Right, to fleets, transportation. It's everything. And given the environment now, the world of how quickly the energy landscape is changing. I think it's, for us, something that we really want to think about sooner than later, in terms of getting something, in terms of official acceptance into the town of how we plan to use energy, and how we think of it and how we'd like to, move forward with planning for it in our town.
most of the last year in our board has been focused on trying to bring forward the solar panels on the town dump, the old sand pit and the schools. So now that we're at near the end of that, I'm not sure where that is with the select board in terms of negotiations, but we're looking to do next steps. What is our next mission? What is our next focus?
Okay. I'm sure, I mean, in a lot, I mean, the state must have quite a bit of guidance or regulation of where, I mean, how much is, I don't know, if it comes into, regulation on,
There's minimum regulations in terms of like,
or is it more of just guidelines and,
it's up to us. It's up to the town. I mean, we can set, I mean, there's parameters, minimum expectations in terms of building codes and whatnot. But we can do what other towns do and be more progressive and assist our the people in the town with helping to reduce energy costs and whatnot. It really kind of depends on how as a town we decide how progressive we want to be.
Mhm.
There are, like I mentioned before, there are groups that can help in writing a plan, and the energy portions of a plan. There's grants, there's federal monies that can be used in assisting that. And that's something that I think, we could possibly, contribute or help bring that money in, or make those connections. And again, I'm unfamiliar with how the town in general crafts the master plan. I mean, I'm assuming you hire a consultant to come in? I mean, what?
It's what the Regional Planning
Yeah,
Commission
okay.
has
Yeah.
basically kind of managed the plan, managed the updating of the plan, and they're usually or there have been in the past some groups for certain parts of it that have met independently, like the Natural Resources chapter.
and there's been some public meetings and
public
input
meetings.
sessions.
Yeah, they're
And they'd probably be a really good resource too for, I'm sure they've helped other municipalities.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is?
Central New Hampshire Regional Planning
We've
Commission.
already met with Mike Tardif, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, he was part of it. Yep,
Yeah, he's the director there.
yep, gotcha.
I think a question I have for the planning board is what level of involvement would you like to have in the process? Do you want to say energy committee, why don't you work on it, put together a draft and bring it to us? Or do you want to have them coming in with updates along the way and be more involved through the process?
I mean, I think it's more of, of you drafting it, I don't think that we need, a ton of updates, but, some.
I think periodically, then we could probably steer them in the direction of, oh, we've been looking at that. That would be great to highlight or or you may want to present multiple options versus the one option you've identified. So I think getting an update periodically would be helpful.
Okay.
I
just wouldn't
personally,
want you- We wouldn't want you going down a road that isn't gonna be amenable to others.
Right, and that's sort of what I'm trying to get.
We want to send you on like a 6 month.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's something that the committee, it's part of our mission, right? So we'll be drafting something one way or another. So I guess for us, it was more of like, okay, do we sort of put it on pause and work with you guys, or do we sort of, structure something now, have it ready to go when the time comes? So I guess that's something that as a.
I mean, I think some update in between, just so it's.
Yeah.
If it,
Yeah.
hey, this does sound good, or hey, this is, craziness. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah. Well, and I also think there's a lot of synergy between our two committees as well that I think we should, we could leverage. In terms of the technical expertise and just, planning for the town.
personally, on the staff level, I would like to be involved. And that's where my background is too. So I would, not gonna write it for you, but But I would definitely like to be involved in the.
Great,
process.
okay.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome.
Having you guys start it sooner rather than waiting till the master plan process, I think it would be much better. And then us having input, you know, kind of here and there along the way would be good. And that way, you know, that could tailor the flavor of some of the other chapters that we have that, you know, maybe we haven't mentioned energy stuff and we would know we could refer to, you know, the energy chapter for some of the discussion and stuff.
It might also be helpful to have you all review the chapters as they're being drafted to see if there's, you know, places where it makes sense to integrate energy components in there.
I'd say, you know, look at the, if you haven't
The current,
already, look at the current master plan and see where, oh, they didn't mention this and they didn't mention that.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I think right now we did, and, you know, there's mention of energy, there's certainly not a chapter, you know, so the idea is to get, you know, a focused chapter on, you know, how we will as a town, you know, manage these resources. So, yeah, no, thank you very much.
I think probably for a first cut, for me, I think it'd probably be most beneficial if it was set up as like an outline.
Mhm.
And probably like easier for you guys too, just so we get a sense for what you guys are thinking, just like, you know, talk points and then take a look at that, and that's probably how I would do it.
Okay.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. Great.
So our purpose was to put ourselves on your radar screens. I think we've done that.
Success.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
for coming.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for
Thank you guys very much.
doing the work for the town and
Appreciate it. Yep.
When will we actually start?
Good start. At
Say again?
least budget wise, we need to be thinking about it soon.
about the master plan and getting it updated. And
Yeah.
How fast
and
can years
also
go by, huh?
You know, it's basically entering a contract with, you know, the regional planning
Yeah.
commission.
I don't know how much the town paid in 2017 for the update, but I do know that towns regularly spend $150,000 on master plan updates now.
Wow.
Maybe less with the regional planning commission, but
Right.
Let's hope so. It is just an update. All right, well, let's move on, see if we can. All right, moving on to public hearings. Application 511-24 Tyler Buildings, Inc., continued from 4/18/24 subdivision application for 3-lot subdivision to be accessed by a shared driveway and serviced by individual wells and individual septic systems located off Round Hill Road. At the same time, we're gonna be talking about application 401-24, Tyler Builders, which is a wetland conditional use permit for a driveway crossing impacting 1,250 square feet of wetland and 10,110 square feet of wetland buffer to access 3 residential lots.
Good evening. I'm Craig Francisco, Bedford Design. I'm gonna start out by saying I haven't revised the plans at all. These are the same plans you saw in March. The reason being, hey, I was in the hospital at the last meeting you guys had. That's why I asked for a continuance. And I'm feeling better, by the way. By the time I finally got Carrie's email to contact Tim Sweeney, Tim Sweeney's not in it, as we all know, probably. So I didn't get to talk to him either. But I do have information. So it's not all.
Yeah,
Going through the minutes, the one item was the 16-foot wide paved driveway with 3-foot shoulders. The fire department wanted something wider. I had emailed and talked to the previous fire chief in November, I believe. And he emailed me saying 16-foot, 3-foot's fine. I emailed the new chief saying that, and he said, well, if he said that, it's okay too. So hopefully that issue is gone. I emailed as soon as we got the zoning variance. I said, okay, how wide a driveway do we need? And I talked to the fire chief. Underground utilities, we agreed to that. Salt minimization, no problem. 18-inch culvert under here, no problem. Privacy screening, we talked to Jessica Duke outside for 10 minutes a little bit ago. We proposed spending about $1,000 on plants, trees, shrubs, whatever She had a suggestion with some, I think she met with Sandy about this, or she said she did. I don't remember what they were anymore. Junipers and something that I can't pronounce. That were about $2,100. So I think we can come to an agreement of some sort, whether it's 1,000 or 50 or 2,100, or of course, that's not including the planting, that's just the tree. I think we can come up with something. What exactly, I don't know yet, but
To get some
negotiate.
pretty dense vegetation between, is that what's?
Yeah.
Some screening.
Improvement.
How many plants would be needed to?
8.
They're expensive plants. They're expensive plants.
Yeah. $350 each.
Part of it is probably to get them of a substantial enough size so that.
Mhm.
it
They were
provides-
they were somewhere between 5 and 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you plant.
That's one thing I mentioned on the park. Let's get below 5 feet. 4 foot 10 inches is a lot cheaper than 5 foot 1 inches for planting. But we'll figure something out, I'm sure. Oh, FYI, you spelled my name wrong in the minutes. That's no big deal. Still noticed that.
We go over those at the end of the meeting.
Site distance, which is the crux of the whole matter, right? The town regs say 275 feet per ASHTO. ASHTO says 14.5 feet back, which is 6 front from the edge of the pavement to the front of the car, 6 feet from the front of the car to the eyeball is another 8.5 feet. That's how they get the 14.5. We don't have it. We have 275 feet at 10 feet. So I need a waiver from the 14.5. I don't even need a waiver. I don't think it's not in the subdivision regulations, it's in the driveway regulations. I didn't see it anywhere in subdivision or zoning. I could be wrong, but I didn't see it. So I don't have it at 14.5, but I do have the site distance at 10. It's an FYI. I don't think anybody else on this subdivision has it either. Because we're all on the inside of the curve. This goes back to the conversation we had last year probably about not getting the extra right of way width. Whenever the subdivision was done. So everybody's looking over top of everybody else's property. Through the trees and Allen's property. So I guess what I'm saying is 10 feet back, we have the site distance. 14.5 feet back, we'd be looking through other people's property. And everybody else is doing the same thing right now. Us building this driveway would probably help everybody else's site distance. Well, it would help everybody else's site distance.
Oh, so that was news to me because I put you on the spot at the March meeting and I believe you did say that you would be able to make it at 14.5 feet. Obviously, that was on the spot. So that is news to me, that they are not able to meet the site distance.
That's why I tried to call Tim Sweeney, but he's not in.
Right.
And at that 14 feet back, well, how much distance do you have? And
Without going over a property line,
yeah,
probably about 110. But
because it cuts off pretty fast as you go.
I mean, you're talking about your car being here, your eyeball being here as opposed to here. So you get to here, you're seeing, you're looking through this property corner.
Yeah.
Bang. Not quite that line. Yes. If the planning board in the 80s would have given that extra 10, 15 feet of right away, everybody'd be fine. But we all knew that, didn't we? We'd been fine with the road.
Yeah, I think we already came to the conclusion that the
Yes.
planning part on the initial subdivision wasn't good.
Ask another clarifying question. So it goes over other properties, but is the vision line clear today?
No.
Okay.
There's at least 2 trees
Well, the ones that you plan to cut, are they on other people's property?
on other people's property.
Okay.
Don't remember how big they are, to be honest with you. Don't think they're very big, but
They're not
remember.
the applicant's trees.
we're only talking about left, we're not talking right. Looking right, we have it at 14.5. Looking left, we don't.
Wait, do you have the left and right backwards?
I do that all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be confusing in the.
Surveyor thing, looking through transit saying, go left. Sorry.
You got plenty of site distance downhill. You don't have it
We
uphill.
can see that way, we can't see this way.
Yeah, it's the cars coming down the hill that you're gonna
Yes.
see at the last moment. If it was the other way, it would be, I think it's a little bit,
But if you creep out, so your bumper is 2 feet off the edge of pavement, rather than 6 feet off the edge of pavement, you're gonna see it. At 275.
So just as a reminder, I don't believe you were all here at the last meeting, but we did have a brief non-public session at the last meeting to review some correspondence from the town's attorney on the subject of site distance.
okay,
Um,
I was not here for that.
so I don't know if. it would
I
be
wouldn't mind
beneficial to
hearing
do
that.
that
It would
briefly
probably-
again.
I was gonna suggest we go into non-public because Don wasn't here and I have a follow-up question on that.
Okay.
If you want to make a
Room down.
motion to go into non-public session. I'll make it.
A second.
You have to do a roll
Oh,
call.
yes. Kip, how do you vote?
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
myself, yes.
I'm
So we're gonna go down the hall?
gonna leave this.
Yeah, we're gonna leave.
Turn off.
Make yourself comfortable.
Turn off.
Yeah.
We'll never get it back. Okay.
Okay.
You didn't keep them live while we were gone?
I muted them so they could.
My husband was saying it's not working because the camera
Oh,
was
you can
off.
see it.
Yeah, I know. I should have a little message there. All right.
Okay. Bringing the meeting back to order. We're made it back. Thank you for. Yeah, who, do you want to? Wayne?
I will. So we had requested some direction from the town's attorney previously, based on the information we had at the time, but the new information that you've presented this evening kind of changes the situation somewhat. And I think the board would feel more comfortable being able to request additional attorney correspondence just to, based on the new information. Because the advice we got was based on the fact that you did have the 275 feet at 14.5 feet back from the road. At this point, we are up against the 65-day review deadline.
Can I add one thing about the site distance? When you're looking to the
Right.
up the,
Up the hill?
it's hard to tell standing there today if you can see between the trees. There's that one big oak tree. So there's several trees that definitely gonna come down on Alan's property. You probably can see between some of the existing trees and see the car coming. I don't know that, but it's not all season. It doesn't meet AASHTO requirement. If there's a telephone pole in the way, it doesn't meet AASHTO requirements. So that's why I said 110, 115.
So we are up against the 65-day review deadline. So the board would request if you will mutually agree to extending that to the next meeting so that we can get full attorney advice with all the facts.
When's the next meeting?
Month away.
June.
June 20th? And that would also give you a chance to speak to Mr. Sweeney.
Oh, we'll have to see you again.
But
Yes.
I am semi-retired. Once again, I'm retired. I thought it was my last boat planning board meeting, but I guess not.
Which, I mean, this was advertised as a public hearing.
Yes.
So I am gonna open up to the public. And basically into the public, I do ask if it's, you know, we want, if you have new information, something that you want to add to it, we don't need to hear the same things that's already made it into record. So if anybody from the public has anything that
And-
like to add,
And just to be clear, we'll also have another public hearing on
Yes.
this in June as well. So,
Walter Presti, 56 Brown Hill Road. I wanted to know if it was E11 definitely required that driveway to be named.
that's what I'm told.
Yes, so the E911 requirements are maybe strong recommendations is a better word. But we do try to follow those as town policy.
And once again, does it make it a driveway? If it's a private road named, does it make it a private road?
It doesn't really change the classification. It's still a driveway.
So if I'm across, I'm 56 across from 45, can I put in a permit to name my driveway?
It's across the board.
just across.
So it's gonna be a lot easier for E11, E911 to find me at 56. And I'll give you an instance. When I was in the fire department, we did do a drill. And Concord ended up at the top of the hill thinking that was 56.
Yeah, we have a lot of areas that are difficult to locate based on current addressing.
So I don't want to see a precedence that people all of a sudden say E911 recommends I have a name on my driveway. And we got named driveways going all the way up Brown Hill.
The reason the recommendation would be for it to be named is because there'd be 3 homes.
Okay,
It's not, yeah, if you had a long driveway to one home, it wouldn't be the recommendation to name the driveway. It's because there's 3.
and then also, is there any regulations that 3 houses could possibly have 6 garbage pails if they each go for the second pail, 3 more for recycling. Now there would be no room for these driveways between my neighbor's driveway and there'd be nowhere to put the pails.
That is one concern that Mr. Sweeney did raise, and I don't know if you've talked to him about this yet, but he would want to make sure that there is space on the sides for those bins to go, especially since it's such a long driveway. It's not likely that these residents are gonna drag them back and forth. They're probably gonna be there most, if not all the time.
That's a good question.
And so we would need to make sure that there's gonna be space for them. I mean, ideally, they would get picked up after.
It's 110 feet of frontage, I believe, or something like that. So there ought to be room for 6 garbage cans.
Also in the winter, they're not gonna be able to stay.
And there are, they have the automatic collectors, so they have to have a certain space.
Distance
They
between.
3 feet apart.
can't be next to each other, so.
I'll talk to
So
Tim.
when you talk to Tim, that's gonna be something that's gotta come up then too.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? All right, seeing no more comment, I'm gonna close the public hearing.
There's a gavel.
I-
That's okay.
Do we need to do continuous? Do we need anything else from applicant?
No, so is that, did we hear a mutual agreement?
I'll send you an email. If you need an email, I assume, not just a verbal.
Yeah, that would be great.
So I'll send that for you. I won't do it right now.
That's good.
June 20th, I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's what it looks like.
I can check.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's,
Yes, it is. It's kind of late because
Yeah.
yeah,
Conservation Commission is the 17th.
That sounds right.
The third Thursday is the 20th of June.
I'll make a motion to continue application number 50924,
it's 501.
sorry, 50124. And application 40124, both regarding Tyler Builders Incorporated.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. See you next month.
What do you do with your trash? Haul it on a heavy gator? To move rocks from my rock walls. I don't know if you've seen them. I've seen the walls. That's kind of what I just. But then I tried twice to do it by hand and then I just bought the.
All right. Moving on to application 202-24. Global Monticello Group Court, continued from 4/18. Site plan application for proposed retail landscape material business with a greenhouse located at 1506 Route 3A. And we just had a site walk there.
Good evening. My name's Tim Branger with Hoyle Tanner. We're helping Tony. Tony submitted an application for site plan approval. We prepared a plan as we discussed last month. The site is halfway constructed. So kind of an as-built. We prepared the plan to show what Tony was trying to construct out there and wants to do. At the last meeting, the board had a couple of questions and requested a few things. One of them was to add some parking spaces along the greenhouse. Which we did. This location is gravel, so we don't show, designed it to accommodate handicap spaces. So can't really mark them. Didn't specify.
Got a little sign.
Or the road,
We're
like a rope and a.
not putting like a granite curbing. They make like this. Actually, I shouldn't say granite, because they're yellow. They're like a fiberglass curb stop.
To show.
You can actually. And spike into the ground.
And the other question was about the pond. We designed a pond in here that was as big as would fit in the existing, right? Available, just want to make sure it didn't fail, so we did a stormwater analysis. And it doesn't overtop the pond in the 100-year storm event, so it has a controlled outlet. That works through a 100-year storm event, so. it's pretty safe as far as that goes. It'll work. You know, this is a gravel yard as you saw out there. The pond's gonna need maintenance because of that, but it's gonna function pretty good at controlling sediment. Probably gonna be its primary function. But because of that, it'll need maintenance on a regular basis.
Yeah. So that'll just be an asphalt in the entrance and then it'll go to gravel.
That's the
Oh,
plan.
Yeah.
So that was what we talked about last month. And Tony's worked on the application, the waiver requests, there's quite a few waiver requests. Well, a lot of those waivers covered discussion at the meeting, at the sidewalk. Probably address those as well.
Update on the state driveway permit?
I have Tony Reynolds. I was hoping to get the state driveway permit today. The engineer that needed to sign it, called off for an emergency thing. Hopefully I'll be able to pick it up tomorrow. I've met them on site. They had a couple concerns, but all their concerns are addressed in the site plan. It's just some of the curbing on 3A has failed, so the water is coming from 3A into the lot, and you have to fix that. And put it back out into 3A. But I should be able to have, according to Mr. Demers, I should be able to pick up the permit tomorrow. Get it to you guys.
I think my comments are just relate to the pond. So the last time we spoke, I guess I understood, maybe I didn't understand correctly, that for the 100-year storm, the pond doesn't overtop. And I think that when you said that, I thought that meant that it doesn't go over the spillway.
No, it stays in the controlled outlet. Oh, yeah, no, it goes out the spillway into your storm event.
Yeah, so I mean, I think my only concern there, so it's going into the DOT right of way. It's, it's going into their drainage system.
Their drainage system, it doesn't actually make it there, but yeah. It goes in for a really short time and then immediately goes back out again, but.
Right, so if they're reviewing the so the stormwater report doesn't show, it doesn't really give the magnitude of, the peak flows and volumes. It just describes that it doesn't overtop.
Yeah, so that would be if it overtops the unprotected outlet, there would be the pond would fail. So that's, I guess,
Right.
That's what I thought you were asking for was, will the pond be a stable, safe place to put this water? And it will. It controls the flow from the site.
Right, but there's more flow leaving the site with this development than there was when there was the house there.
Yeah, I mean, even last month, it was a house lot and now the entire thing is a commercial development, so it's impossible for that not to increase runoff. So as part of that, we did, and 2-year storm event, it's 1 CFS increase in runoff. We kind of talked about on the sidewalk, so, sort of expected things. 10-year, it's just a hair 2.1 CFS increase. And a 25-year storm, just under 2. So we need to look at where this water goes, and it goes in, once it gets under the culvert, which is apparently being replaced. I guess Lareco Plaza's gonna go through some changes and they're gonna fix their drainage. Their drainage is not great right now, but it's part of their site plan. They're fixing that. And then it goes into a large system that comes down off Interstate 93. So, we looked at it and didn't think that, and then it goes from there, crosses 3A, and goes into a really large wetland system that connects all the way down to the Merrimack River. So, once CFS and a 2-year storm, it's not gonna, the culverts are all pretty large. That's so just past Lareco's is a very large watershed system, and this is like throwing a rock in the river compared to that. But it is what it is. Like, I'm not gonna tell you there isn't an increase there. There is.
So there's a lot of gravel, there's a lot landscaping materials that get, you know, kind of carried through the stormwater there. It's probably, I know part of the purpose you described is that it's a sedimentation, a little bit of sedimentation you're gonna get there.
Well, we were hoping, so when I did this, you know, and as I said last month, we kind of did the best we could with what we had, the site's partly constructed. I was hoping we'd get more infiltration than we do, but the soils aren't very good. The whole watershed's an acre, so it's not a lot of water. You know, the percent increase is probably pretty high because the amount of water is pretty low to begin with. The soils aren't very good, so we get some infiltration, but very little.
So I guess my question is, if we're getting more sediment in this pond than we probably would get for most ponds, how does Tony know that he has to do some kind of maintenance on that? Is there does he have any kind of plan that says like the sediment gets to this height, you've gotta muck it out? You know, like, is there like a sediment marker, or like, how does he know that he needs to do something?
Sure, we can absolutely put something together and put it on the plan and put it in a separate report, give it to him so that the town knows when it needs to be maintained. I mean, I think it's gonna be pretty, so it's a gravel driveway, so it's gonna sediment in, so you know, whenever there's visible sediment in the pond, it should get taken out because the pond isn't very deep, so.
Right, so it's not gonna take very much for it to lose capacity.
So if you're seeing sediment in the pond, you should fix it. Which would be my approach, like mowing the lawn, if once a week, you know, there's sediment in the pond, you can fix it too. We got it designed so there's one spot at which the drainage goes into the pond. You know, you could add riprap to that and try, you know, you obviously don't want your gravel yard ending up in your pond every time it rains, so there's ways to fix that. If you have that issue, but yeah, we could certainly add a note to the plan that if there's sediment in the pond, it needs to be maintained.
We
The
not get it.
majority of the open area is actually gonna be like 1.5 inch stone, like you guys saw today on the sidewalk. And what is there is about 6 inches of stone.
Like a waiver or something of the. What is the,
So 5.02M says that appropriate detention and groundwater recharges to assure that existing flow quantities or velocities will not be exceeded. Waiver of these regulations is required if the stormwater drainage system creates any additional stormwater flow quantities or velocities over other properties. Such waiver will be considered only where the developer has obtained easements therefore from all owners of said downstream properties.
so DOT?
Also, one other thing the board asked for last month, I forgot to mention, was the first month, was a landscaping plan that was presented to you last month. So forgot to mention that was one of the other items that you guys had for.
It's not a ton of flow, but it's not zero flow,
I think you should address it as a waiver.
but is it a waiver that would grant? I don't know, it seems like if you're sending more water on somebody else's property, that they should have the opportunity to say something. Maybe DOT doesn't care.
The
Maybe.
state has, not to interrupt you, but the state has reviewed.
They reviewed the stormwater.
We talked about the water running down the swale and other items, and they had no issue.
Could we get it like an email from them or something saying that like, hey, like we looked at the stormwater and we don't take exception to it?
I don't know if they're willing to do that or not. They didn't have an issue with the driveway permit, and they didn't have an issue with the ponds and the way everything was submitted.
So
I don't know if,
what creates a need for the driveway permit is a change of use, so they do know that what the change of use is. I'm assuming that you submitted the plans with the driveway permit.
yes, your plan is the one that was submitted. They have that plan.
It does seem kind of strange they wouldn't ask that question.
But is that something that they review? Do they review like everything that's going on the site, or are they just looking at the driveway?
I know they were reviewing their right of way.
I didn't do the application, so I don't know.
I don't know the rest of it.
They always have whenever I've submitted one. They're always like, where's your drainage going? It's not going in our right of way.
Yeah, I know, I mean, on the town level, Tim looks at that type of thing for town driveway permits. He wants to know where water's going.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would have to think that if the state were giving driveway approval, they've seen the plan, that's kind of giving their,
Listen,
yeah.
you wouldn't need a waiver for that then?
We still need a waiver, because the flow is increasing offsite.
Volumes are pretty low, point 0.07. 0.126.
That's CFS.
So
Is that CFS?
the volumes that it's acre feet. CFS is one CFS in 2 years storm and 10 years, so.
So when you ran the analysis, did you assume that the pond was empty? Because it doesn't drain very well.
Right, yeah, I mean, you would normally assume that it does, it doesn't perfect. Doesn't work great. Storm event, and it would take. To get into a bigger storm event, it's fallen in a 2 year storm event, so the calculation would include that pond's fallen after so many hours of the event. It knows pond's full.
Public hearing?
So. Yeah. This is public hearing. If anybody from the public has. They say opens. Yep. Seeing that, I'll close the public hearing. I know, I just really struggle with this because we're half built. It doesn't finish, we just got a mess, and what do you do with that?
That's,
We could request a restoration bond.
And what's that, we could request it,
Well, you could require a restoration.
We could
bond
require.
to be Put up, that would be sufficient to. Cover. Getting the site stabilized if necessary.
yeah, I mean, out there now, some of the things you see, where it is up and. I mean, there's plenty of silt washing down now. You can, because there's no erosion control, there's no. And now we have a. List of waivers and. We have a site where somebody's. Working at all day. The public's gonna go into to buy stuff. And we don't have a bathroom. I don't know if there's actually some requirement in, with that, but I know if he's not selling food. Put a food truck, they need a bathroom. I just find a lot of this. Kind of bizarre. I know, previous meeting, Tony said that, at the time, building inspector, who's not here now, said just go ahead and start doing it. I would love to hear that from him. I don't know if there's any way to get that, but I find it tough to believe that somebody in our planning department said, just do it. I got another question for you, Tony. Doesn't really have to do with this, but that nice pickup you got, that's your pickup?
Yeah,
That white dually? Why do you have a dealer plate on it?
I have dealership.
But that's not, that's your pickup, that's your daily driver. I see you fuel your trucks with it and stuff, right?
The fuel cell is attached.
I know it can come out, but so you don't register that pickup.
Correct.
So, and another thing that we have, this guy in town is, that, and I know the state, that isn't the purpose of a dealer plate. I have a dealer plate. I can't, it would be illegal for me to run my pickup on it and not register my pickup and give the town $1,000 in tax money every year to register the new pickup. So,
I have over 28 vehicles registered in this town.
well,
That particular vehicle is the vehicle that is listed for sale. I have two of those trucks that look almost
okay,
identical.
that's a pickup you have for sale that you're just driving around for now and used to.
This one, yes,
Used to fuel your trucks.
I don't use it to fuel my trucks. There's
You
no,
don't use it to fuel your equipment?
no,
And what's the fuel cell for?
it's tied
The
in.
transfer tank?
It's not a transfer tank, it
No,
transfers,
okay.
there's no pump on it. It ties directly into the fuel system of the truck.
If the construction hadn't leaked improperly started.
Yeah.
Would we be considering this stuff? Or are we being railroaded into this because we have a half-finished project? Answer it the best you can. You're just educating me.
That's a great question. I mean. My job as staff, I bring you what comes in. You know what I mean? If it's delivered to me as a new project, I would put it on your plate the same way I have this one. The site is small, so I know Tim was limited in what he could do and what he could design for the drainage, and he was kind of locked in based on what was already started, so maybe it could have been designed better, or maybe it's not the best use for such a small slot. I think that's a great.
Do we have any other place that we've ever permitted that didn't have, that was gonna be open to the public, that didn't have a bathroom? I mean, we won't let somebody set up a food truck because there's not a bathroom. I mean, that's why Capone has a food truck, but there's an agreement to use the bathrooms. I mean, this is,
Yeah, it's because that's not something that is in the site plan regulations. We don't have any regulations about requiring bathrooms. I don't know if that comes into.
I don't know
more
how
like
that
state
works.
It's probably related to state licensing for food, or I don't know if there's OSHA requirements about if you have employees needing to have access to a bathroom. I don't know anything about that. But all I know is that there's nothing in the site plan regulations.
I mean. To answer your question, if this came in as, there was a house there, or the house just got taken down, because it was gonna be coming down. And, in a site plan before the construction started, I'm sure the board would have talked about it and what we had to do and, and even, the site plan would have, to start construction, you put up silt fence to keep runoff coming down as part of the site plan. I mean, as far as a, business and a landscape supply, I think it'd be great for the town. I think townspeople will use it. It's
Yeah.
kind of nice. I just am bewildered on how, where we are with this.
Mhm.
When we do, if we do approve this, it really puts that, don't ask, it's much easier to ask for forgiveness, is, why go and, just start doing it, then you can't say no.
That's kind of what I'm driving at. Is that if we go and approve this. I'm of two minds. If we go and approve this, it is giving carte blanche to people who pay attention and know they can do this. If we don't approve it, then like we're not gonna, it feels really weird to force it to go back to the state it was in before and then take it back out to start again. You know what I mean? You put us in a very awkward position. And I find it unbelievable you didn't know that you needed to do this.
It was,
I don't believe a town inspector told you to go ahead and start it.
it's, what was. The whole thing started as. This is a temporary site. Global Montello owns it. They own the Mr. Mike's truck stop next door. In their 5 to 10 year plan, they have plans for this lot. We tore the house down. And they had asked us to take the trees down. And I had talked to Mike. We talked about doing stuff. There was always the intention of coming to the board with a site plan. It was getting into winter. I had a very hard time getting paperwork out of Global. I had talked to Mike and asked in the interim if I could set up a spot for salt. Because I needed a spot for the winter and we were gonna work on this, and that's where it kind of went.
And this isn't the point of this. There's always frustrations in construction.
Yes.
I was building a driveway
Yeah.
that crossed the wetlands. And my surveyor failed to, I think, get something to Sandy in time. And so it rightfully delayed it by a certain amount of time, and I was pulling my hair out. But that is the process.
Yes.
The town regulations don't care if you're frustrated.
Yes.
Town regulations care if you follow the town regulations. And so it's not here or there, it's just none of this had to happen.
I mean, one of the other parts that kills me is, how many years were you on planning and zoning? I mean, quite a few years. I mean, it's not that you didn't know. I mean,
Yeah, I guess the biggest issue I have is with any waivers. It's one thing if you upfront come in ahead of time and need a waiver. But I think to do some work and then say, oh, we need a waiver for something. I think I have a problem with that.
I mean,
If it met all the standards and such, without a waiver, I'd say, all right, this is not the best way to go, but it meets all the requirements. But to add a waiver in there when,
Most of the waivers are due to there's no building.
well, I'm talking about like the stormwater,
Okay, yeah.
the offsite stuff, I
Yeah.
think.
the important stuff, where the water's going,
Where the
which is
water-
always. That's one of the biggest issues that the planning board deals with, is making sure of, where the water's going. And I mean, I think, this really is more of, the property owners issue, and, I think the town should get a letter or contact there and let them know they got a mess that needs to be stabilized.
Well, everything,
Because that's what it's not now. I mean,
the only silt runoff is where the water.
just on the downhill side.
Is when it comes in off of 3A. Everything else has been stabilized on the backside that we've done.
Well, the backside, because your property line is a top hill. So what comes down and goes in and along your driveway, along, between the road and what you have driveway area where it's running down in that ditch, because that's where you would have some silt fence.
Everything on the property line between Lorraco and this piece has all been seeded, strawed.
Can I make a suggestion? So you're listening to everything, and I know you closed the public hearing, so I had a bad.
Well, yeah,
Tell me.
you're part of the applicant right now.
So what I think, just listening to what the concerns of the board, Tony has an investment in this now that he's put some money into this. I think there is something that can be done with this property that meets or more closely meets the regulations, particularly in the areas that you guys are concerned about. I think if you went through the waivers and said that, just kind of did a poll of what waivers you didn't think that were appropriate to grant. That would give us our marching orders of how we have to revise the site plan and come in with a more complete and thorough application. We kind of prepared this as, some things went wrong and we were just trying to come up with a solution to a bad situation. I totally get where the board's coming from. I think there is something that can be done with this piece of land along the lines of what he wants to do. I think it's like you had said, it's something the town can utilize. We have too high an increase that was mentioned, it's the feeling that the amount of water that increases are too high. That can be fixed by scaling the project back. So if that's what you guys feel, so if you went through the waivers and said, and did kind of a poll, we think these waivers really are not appropriate for us to grant, that would give us some marching orders of how we need to rethink this project in order to be more consistent with what the board would like to see. Rather than, I don't know, the other option would just deny it outright. And then we have this issue where we've got this piece of land that's been flipped over now and what we're gonna do. So, so my suggestion would be if the board would go through the waivers, decide if any of those waivers are viable or not. You could decide none of them are, or one of them or two of them are, but that would tell us what we need to do. And then we need to rethink. Does that make sense to you?
As long as it's understood that it's not an acknowledgement that we will approve it in the end.
If we get, the advantage to the planning board versus the zoning board is it's back and forth. You guys will work with us. If the concern is the amount of runoff that comes off the site, then we need to scale the development back to reduce the amount of runoff and expand the facilities, the stormwater management facilities, if that's the concern of the board. So if we could do some, you understand, I'm trying to find something that ultimately Tony can get some of his investment back by accomplishing what he's trying to accomplish. But we're getting closer to what you guys want, which is us complying with the regulations more closely, is what it sounds like to me. So what would help Tony and myself get us there would be you guys.
Yeah, I guess.
Are you guys?
I mean,
Then we need to address the waivers regardless, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good approach.
Now, where are the
I know,
waivers?
and sorry, I don't think we have that printed, so I will,
There's this email here.
yeah, but they don't explain what they are.
That's, I was hoping you have a photographic memory and you
Yeah.
explain
Oh, well,
502M.
all right, so the first one.
Oh, that was added after I got.
Yes, it was, it just called me this afternoon. One for. You
The
can
next copy of the email.
All right,
Okay, so we can just go through them and give a sort of feel for each.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the first one, 5.02 I and J, that one's about overhead utilities. So the existing utilities that went to the house are overhead. And if
Yes,
you put
correct.
power to the shed, that would like to request that that's also overhead. So
When I had talked to Mitchell's Construction, because everything is basically being set up as temporary, they had suggested running an overhead to like an outdoor panel and then running underground to whatever I feed the power from that panel over.
That's a pretty standard temporary surface that you would use for building a house. So you get a temporary service, temporary draw, so they put in a pole, bring the line overhead to the pole, go down and put an electrical box on the pole and a meter right down that pole. And then you can run. And all it's got is a small little shed, probably gonna have a light bulb in it.
Yeah, we may, depending on what we do with the greenhouse, we may run power to the greenhouse.
So everything would come off
So-
because it's temporary.
So if you end up running power to the greenhouse, I mean, you got a temporary setup that normally on a construction site, you'd have some outlets, you'd run extension cords out. But you're gonna have a temporary pole that you're gonna go run underground conduit to the greenhouse to the opposite corner of the lot
Yes.
off of.
and
That's what it
so
sounds like.
the other thing, my other question is, temporary service is usually temporary just for construction time. Is that viable to, I think,
They
at
have,
least 5 years?
They have a panel, they have a schematic system, same idea that Bono's Hot Dogs did. It's basically like two 8x8s with, they use pressure treated wood, creates a panel outside. Board type thing, I think it's 4x6. That they mount everything to and then you run off of.
So that's viable for like 5 years?
Yes, it's viable for,
That's how I have.
I mean, and even like the greenhouse that you're talking about doing is, I mean, is that something that goes up, comes down, like it's a temporary structure or?
It's a Quonset hut is what.
yeah, it's basically, it's set on stone. It's just,
It's open underneath, water could actually go in and out through it. It's not on a foundation, right? It's Quonset, the old style Quonset greenhouses. Not the modern greenhouses that are poured concrete foundations, the old.
Yeah.
Is what we were,
But it would. Like, is it like a canvas type of, a soft,
it's a plastic.
a plastic?
Yeah.
Cover.
All right, so as far as the waiver request for.
I guess, with that, it kind of depends where, like, from being out at the site. To come off the pole. On the north side of the driveway. And then have your panel on the south side of the driveway. That would be kind of. Weird, and I don't know how to, say have a waiver that lets you, yeah.
so we show there's the pole is here, the overhead would come across. Is that the pole they were gonna use, the one that's on the other side of the driveway?
They said they were gonna take the shortest distance. They didn't know if they could come off the one that was
Over here?
actually in Mr. Mike's parking lot.
That would be
because
longer.
Technically,
That'd be longer. That'd be.
okay, we're gonna take the shortest distance.
So you would run from here over the driveway to here, but the driveway goes down quite a bit. Remember, driveway dipped down quite a bit, so I don't see that being a problem if we put a pole as far as height goes. But that's where we're proposing to run the overhead, and then it would be underground.
I guess it,
Which if that's a,
part of my question is the precedent that we set that, look what they did over there, when the next guy wants to. Have a piece, you're gonna have a power panel out next to, next to the road. Of, oh, well, that's just temporary for 5 years or, when 5 turns into 10 real easy.
Well, we've also granted approvals for a finite period of time
Yeah,
for a number of things in the past. So, I mean, that would be one way to
whether
it's here.
the utility goes overhead or underground, the outside structure would be the same.
Yeah, so If it was underground, it would come up to this pressure treated panel.
Yeah.
That has the meter on it.
Yeah, which is probably gonna be what, like a 4x4 panel on 2 posts?
No,
Like that,
you do 8x8 posts and
How
basically,
far apart of the post?
I
So, like,
think it's like, I think the panel has to be, that goes 3x6, because they want you to use like pressure treated decking instead of plywood.
3 foot tall, 6
Yeah.
foot wide. Panel. Yeah, that's gonna be our structure. And then you're gonna, and in that same, right near there, you're looking at having a small shed.
Yes.
That isn't really a building, that's just gonna be a piece set on the ground, set there. On some blocking, whatever. I just wonder what we do when the next guy down the street wants to
And
do.
a bunch of landscaping and stuff around all that area, on the landscape.
Ginger, do you have?
The pedestal, the meter pedestal is pretty common if your house is, so if you require underground utilities and your house is more than 400 feet from the pole. Transformer, you either have to buy a transformer to put at your house, or they put the meter out by the road. You'll see them, you don't really see them unless you're looking for them. I have.
And usually do you see it from the road? Like, does it stand right out?
Mine doesn't, but I made them go in far enough so that it didn't, but, there's a lot out by the road. Literally the meter, goes beside the road on. It goes on the ground there. Because you can't, if you. To the house. More than 400 feet, you go more than, you go more than 600 feet from the transformer, you start to get really large fluctuations in the power. Comes on. In order to avoid it, they put the.
How do they get the power to your house?
That was when I was like, you have a long driveway, right?
That was a foot, right?
Yeah. Maybe you can push that and put something on it.
So we're going to. Like. What, how do we want to?
I mean. I would be, I mean, right on the other side, we have a overhead line that comes here to a pole here on this neighbor, and then, so. Kind of make them symmetric almost.
So we, I think we would grant that waiver.
Yes, I think
Okay,
we would.
number 7.
Number 7 is 5.2M. That is for the erosion plan. So all applications shall include a soils erosion and sediment control plan.
I think. Given what's happened. They should do that. I
Yeah.
don't think, just off my gut, I'm not willing to grant a waiver considering what's happened at the site.
There should be some erosion controls.
Yeah.
Out there, and we saw at the edge where that slope had kind of washed into the swale.
Yes.
Like it would have, you really needed some silk fencing or compost stock, like at that TOA slope.
Right, well,
And it's not even a huge run, it's like 100 feet.
Yeah.
So I think they should have an erosion plan. Not grant a waiver on that. That's my take.
I would agree with that.
Okay, Andy?
And we're hearing you pretty loud and clear. The construction's already started. There should be some, and we'll work with them on what. Be done.
And then number 9.
Number 9 is going to be the drainage and grading plan. So we do have the drainage analysis report.
There's a,
It's just a narrative. And then the 2 plans that are pre-in. So we have a version of that. I don't know if Tim wants, I knew.
This is gonna depend on what you decide about the stormwater. If you want us to, if you talked about the stormwater waiver request, if you want us to put the regulations, then the grading and drainage plan is gonna change a lot.
And, you know, typically when you get a stormwater report, it's a book, with all the calculations, so we did not you'd asked for the narrative, so we just did the narrative at this point. But 5.02N is also where the part about not exceeding quantities or velocities onto other properties, so that definitely requires a waiver request, or you can tell them to go back and
Mhm.
look at that again.
I would go back and look at it again.
And we don't really have any idea what the existing flows are or what the proposed flows are. We know that it's more in post-development. We don't know what the magnitude is. And I think we also need to have DOT send us some kind of they look that the drainage is fine, like we understand there's more flow coming from this site I don't know how the rest of the board thinks, but
I'm with you
I
on
think
that.
they should.
Or if we don't want drainage to go off-site, that's another thing in terms of going back. And
Yeah, are you asking them to eliminate the additional drainage offsite or to reduce it? Because I think those are two different requests.
I mean, I guess, if there's more flow going off site, is it's going to DOT right away and they have a drainage easement, I'd assume all the way to the river. So if they look at it and they say, yeah, this is fine, then I think I would be fine.
As
Yeah.
it stands now, like, or if they, are you still asking them to?
I feel like we should know the quantity of it, of how much more it is. And it should be noted in the stormwater report, the offsite peak flows and volumes, which is required by we should know what it is, and then if it's more than what's going there now, that DOT should probably comment on that. We should present them like a little table that says pre-post, they don't need the 100-page report, but just, a little summary of this is what it is.
Yep.
Going to this location. And
Yeah. Yeah, you guys didn't ask for that, but we have it. So we can go to DOT and we can say, look, this is what's happening. And how do you feel about it? And we'll talk to, maybe talking to the neighbors because it runs before it crosses and goes into a large well, and it does go, so we can talk to the neighbor about it too.
And then.
For us to know that where it's going, the neighbor and DOT is okay with it.
And I think that there probably was a little confusion there because I understood that there was, when nothing is going over the berm, I interpreted that as nothing is leaving the pond.
Oh, God. Sorry.
So are you clear on the direction?
So the waiver request was for the drainage, so you're looking for a full drainage analysis, but kind of in addition to that, you would like to get feedback from DOT because that's where the water is going. If we have an increase, if we redesign the site and we don't have an increase, then obviously DOT is gonna be like, well, you don't have an increase, what's the problem?
Yeah, so if you have an increase, I wanna know that where it's going, the increase is going, they're okay with it.
Okay, so if we get it down, maybe a little bit less than what it is now, and we go to DOT and say, can you guys do this? This is where it's going, this is your culvert, see what they say.
Or if they're okay with whatever it is, you give them, tell them what it is. I guess it's a massive number. I don't think it's a massive number.
No, they're really small. The whole watershed is 1 acre, so the volumes are
Yeah.
that small.
Yeah.
But it's an increase, and that gets people thinking.
So we're saying that if DOT is okay with the plan as it's done right now, then you're okay with it. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
yes.
I just want to be really clear.
Yeah. But I think
It
you
is,
wanna
and
know.
it is just in the DOT swale or is it on the Lorico?
So it goes into the DOT right away, but the way that Loracos did their development, the entire right of way goes into their land, into Lorraco Plaza. And their driveway culvert is about, 20 feet in from the right of way. That all of the drainage for the highway goes through that culvert. and then it goes into a wetland, and then it does go through another culvert, underneath where Doosan is, Eastern Equipment there. That's a 30-inch culvert, and then it crosses the highway, goes into a wetland.
I mean, I think if the state is all right with it going into where the drainage is going, it, you know, then it becomes the state's issue, right? I mean,
Are they gonna care about maybe they don't care, maybe they don't need the stormwater calculation. Look at it, be like, yeah, this is fine, they don't need to know the quantity and the.
I think we still want them to comment on.
I think I'd like to know I'd like to see what it is, and then also, like, didn't on that other parcel there, the one farther down, the next lot down, doesn't that pond that they designed, we reviewed that? Doesn't that take stormwater coming off of that swale into that pond?
I don't remember where it takes what stuff, but I do recall the pond there.
yes, the Lorraco lots they're looking at doing.
I thought that it took water from the road, so if they're taking more water from there, I could be wrong, but I thought that's what I remembered. If they're taking more water from uphill, like, is their pond not gonna work?
I didn't realize until tonight that they're planning improvements to that. So I haven't looked at it. We can,
Yeah, I mean, they've been a couple of years since they,
Yeah,
the real trick would be to make it a zero increase. That would be our goal. But if we cannot come up with a mechanism that Tony can be successful in his business and put it at zero, so we end up at some number, that's an increase, we'll have to do more investigation. We'll look at the site plans that were done for Lorraco's, and we'll figure out where this is gonna go and make sure we're not causing problems.
Okay.
That's just.
Number 10.
All right, number 10, 5.02P is about developments that join existing streets that don't conform to the width. Have to contribute some width, but it's 3A, so I don't think that's even relevant here.
I don't. think-
So that one is not a concern. I don't know if it even needs a waiver. It can probably just be an NA.
Yeah,
11, 5.02R is the evacuation and emergency plan. It says that a written emergency access and evacuation plan shall be submitted for each development. I talked to the fire chief and they had no concerns. They said they could park on Prairie and stretch a hose to the whole site.
yeah.
So they don't care.
Yeah, no,
That one's
I-
reasonable.
Yeah.
5.02W, I believe that's about screening the dumpster,
Yeah, never done.
having a dumpster.
So you're not gonna make the greenhouse isn't gonna make any trash, any,
We're not gonna have an on-site dumpster now. It'll either go with us, cause I have dumpsters at my other site. Or we'll throw off, use the,
there'll be no trash pickup there.
cause most of the stuff, like, that would. Like garbage or greenhouse would generate clippings, but it's all gonna be compost and stuff.
Okay.
Is there, I don't
Be-
recall, Tim, is there a note on the plan that says there will be no on-site dumpster?
No, but I can add one.
I think that would be good because it does say provisions for storage and disposal of solid waste shall be shown. So I think if you put a note
Yeah.
that says there is no dumpster, that would.
Yes, that should be on the plan. So when he has a dumpster there later on, after he's there for a year and realizes that lunch makes a lot of garbage or something, I don't know.
All right.
16.
Just a whole bunch of numbers on it.
I know. Oh, this is. where? That's the right-
Is monuments.
I don't know if that's the right one. Yeah, I think, okay, so. Was there supposed to be one for 5.02T, which is about monuments?
Mhm.
That one doesn't sound.
Other corner, I know one corner's stake.
They're
You
all,
can see that.
I don't
all
recall,
four corners are in.
I don't recall any issues.
What's 802 are then?
2R is escaping. I don't know if those are the correct numbers.
Now, 802R is the site plan. You know, what's on the,
Yeah, 8.02R is just the location. the type extent of landscaping, so he did provide a landscaping plan, so I think
Okay.
that one's all set. The 15.10, 11, 12, 15, and aesthetic design standards and the environmental standards and the building facade. So obviously the building facade isn't very relevant because there's not a real building. The aesthetic design standards encompasses things like landscaping. I think the landscaping plan makes a pretty good attempt to meet those.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's 15 or 16 is the one about not causing excessive dust. That one.
It's 15, 16.
I'll look up for certain which one that is, but it
I'm-
seems like,
I would be
Mm.
fine with like the landscaping plan and the other waivers, but dust might be the different issue.
I mean, the dust thing, there are state standards for that stuff. So,
Yeah, I think I might have messed up on that because we won't be really creating any dust. Probably not a waiver.
those aesthetic
Okay.
design standards often get lumped all together.
Yeah, I think
It's a little
so.
different than the others, but, yeah. We can keep talking.
And that's why we were gonna put the 1.5 inch stone down, just so we didn't have the dust of a gravel parking lot and.
Yeah, it was dust, noise, vibration,
Oh, okay.
fumes, it's all those kind of nuisance type items like that.
Yeah, so we can probably take that off. the list.
Yeah, so we'll probably take that one off the list and ask you to hold to those. 8.02N is gonna be the plan views of all the buildings, so there's buildings beyond the shed, so that's not necessary. And then O is elevation view of the buildings. And Q is off-street parking and loading spaces, which they have now provided us the parking spaces, which meet the requirements for a greenhouse.
so for item 2Q, is that waiver not needed?
Right.
So does that clarify stuff for you? Tim?
Yes.
Okay, so should we make a motion to continue this
We will also need a
agreement?
mutual agreement to extend the appeal deadline.
Can you send the email?
An email?
Yeah, I sent you an email in the morning.
Yeah, but if you can just acknowledge
Yes.
now.
All right, I'll make a motion to continue application 202-24 Global Montello Group to our next meeting on June 20th.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
Next month is gonna be kind of like this month,
It's just kind of like
It's
last
gonna be a
month.
kind of like last month.
Bagged recurring dream is what it's gonna be.
A little bit more.
Maybe a late October will want to be this.
All right, what do we got left on here?
Bird landing.
Application, oh,
Tim still hangs it
Yeah.
up.
what's that?
Kind of
So is this Tim again?
different hat.
Have a good night, Tony.
Thank you, Joe.
Take care.
What, if it's in the bathroom? Washroom.
Once in a while, his Canadian shows, or when he pulls out like a Z or something.
What's that? I don't want to have to repeat them. All right, moving on, application 502-24 Birds Landing LLC. Sarah Charles Sargent, subdivision application for proposed 3-lot residential subdivision located at 14 Birchdale Road, map 14, block 4, lot 53, zoned wall. Hey,
Good evening. My name
long
is.
time no see.
This will go a little better.
Have you started construction yet? Good, it's already going better.
The house is already there, what?
This is a 3-lot subdivision on Birchdale Road, right across from Cobb. It's a little U-shaped 1970s subdivision across the street. It's just heading up the hill from you cross where the new culvert went in, the road Birchdale was closed for a long time. This is probably 1,000 feet down. The site is 8.755 acres, 547.66 feet of frontage. The site, we did get two variances from the zoning board of adjustment for buildable area and for frontage on this lot to allow a lot with 147 feet of frontage and it's just by math, so you have the 100-foot back requirement that you have to maintain your frontage for 100 feet back. Just because of the way the two lot lines were, it's just a hair less than 140. We couldn't hold 147.66, so they gave us a variance for that as well. It's really minor, but one of them had to have it because at 100 feet back from the road, we didn't have enough for all three. So the lot does have some wetlands. There's and an aquifer. There's an aquifer protection overlay district back here as well. This wetland is a very poorly drained wetland that's connected to a prime wetland, so it's all connected. So that has a 150-foot prime wetland buffer, which runs into the buffer around this wetland. So the whole back of the lot's kind of protected open space because it's all buffer. So all the development, all the building's gonna be up by the road. We have revised the plans per comments from the town regarding labeling the buffer setback, the front setback, making it clear that that's the 35-foot isn't just a setback, it's a buffer as well. So we clarified that. We also the state subdivision, we added the test pits, state subdivision has been submitted. Thought we'd have it back by now, but we haven't, so it should be any day. For that, the only waiver request that we're asking is to keep the overhead utility to the existing house that's existing. If right now the plan is to try to rehab the existing house, it's not in great shape. So
Didn't it get fire a few years ago?
the barn that was in the back, burned down, is that?
Yeah, I mean, the interior of the actual home is purely from smoke, but it doesn't actually have any fire damage. The barn's gone.
Yeah, it's the foundation now.
Yeah.
And all that stuff that used to be in the barn is now out in the yard. It's been working on cleaning that up.
It's much, I run by there, it's much cleaner. So.
Yeah, it's quite a process apparently. So that's the only waiver that we're asking for. Pretty straightforward. Site distance is really good here. The road is dead straight. There is a crest, but you don't see the pavement, but the road actually continues to go up. So site distance is really far going this way, and then this way you just see forever. So it's pretty good. I was thinking about we measured it at 10 feet back. You'd easily make it at 14.5 too. 10 feet more like 400 feet. You do, the 14.5 feet issue with a single family lot gets kind of restricted. With 200 feet of frontage, tell you what happens is you end up having to cut the vegetation in the right of way on the abutting lot. So you're cutting vegetation in front of somebody else's house. And that always upsets people, but it gets you the site distance of 14.5 feet. When the road's straight, when you're on the inside of the curve, you're just screwed for site distance because you're just looking through other people's land. But Fortunately, we don't have that problem. We're having site distance is an issue on so many subdivisions today. And more often than not, even when it's straight, because the old town roads, they go up and down. And so you lose it with the little hills, they just built the roads right on the ground wherever the heck it was. If you build a road today by ASHTO standards, they take in site distance into account with the vertical curves. So you always get their site distance, but if you've got old town road, it's just following the land. It's got no geometry, so. But in this case, we're fortunate in that matter, even though we didn't quite meet it. So that what got us with the lot size was, and you changed the regulations, so we had to get the variance for buildable area. Was when you changed the zoning to take out the buffers. Because we have 150-foot buffer, it just eats up all the.
I thought it was contiguous also. That
Right.
is the contiguous part of it that was.
Yeah, right. So that's the whole shoot match. There's a little shed here that sticks into the front setback now. And where you gonna, things staying or going?
Go.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
should just go. It's probably the nicest structure out there. It's like a little kid's house thing, with a nice little front farmer's porch on it.
Probably move it.
Yeah, you could probably
You can
just
move
slide it over.
So we'll make a motion to accept those.
It is complete except for a payment of $20.
Uh-oh.
Someone owes us $20. And they're over again. Can we proceed, please? So I'll make a motion to accept this complete.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, we have accepted it.
Okay.
We want our $20.
Yeah.
Now it's, I thought it was.
Public hearing. Questions from
All
board?
right, you got anything, anybody on the board got any questions, concerns? All right,
The Conservation Commission did a site walk on Monday evening
okay,
of the site. Took a look and
that's
felt
good.
that there were no issues. Right?
All right. This is a public hearing, so if anybody has anything, questions, comments from the public? Not seeing any, I will close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion that this does not have a regional impact.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I will bring up one thing. So they requested expedited approval based on the fact that it's minor subdivision.
Mhm. Can we do that?
Yes. The one thing that's a little awkward with that, and I don't know how it follows with your past practices, but it is not recommended. That's why I did not talk about a site walk, because you do a site walk prior to doing the application. So I guess for an expedited application, it would be something so minor that you wouldn't need to do a site walk. And if you feel you really need a site walk, it does have to.
Yeah, that's
It
what
puts it in
that's
an
the way
awkward
it's
position.
been.
Oh, that is, it's fun. Okay.
Which is why we set up our own
That's why the conservation does their. own.
site
Okay.
walk. Because I saw that and said, okay, they're not gonna do one.
Okay, got it.
I-
Conservation didn't see any.
And having gone by
No.
there at any time, I don't see a need for a sidewalk personally.
Yeah, I didn't think so either, but I was just curious about, wasn't
Yeah.
sure if you had previously done sidewalks prior to accepting applications.
No.
You know that that's not recommended.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is that site walks, it's really good to be able to see what's there, because first of all, some sites go very bad. And it could be not the current owner, but the subsequent owner. And if you don't have a before idea of what's there, it gets difficult, with plans to kind of depict what is or what was or what have you. So,
And this says there is no impacts, there's no.
right, there's no wetland CPI was interested primarily because there is a prime wetland back there as well as the other wetlands, so.
So we would need to make sure that the buffer is marked though, right?
Yes, yeah, the buffer does need to be marked, yeah.
I think that should be in a condition as a reminder.
Condition. So do we wanna grant the waiver? Or-
So, yeah, so to review, the waiver is to allow the
Utilities.
overhead
Continuation.
utilities to stay to the existing home.
Yeah.
So, one question with that, like he said, they're not 100% if they're gonna save the house or not.
Mhm.
I guess if you were to tear down the house and start over, would you do underground at that point?
I think that would probably be reasonable, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Everything
It's a
would be
brand new
around that
house.
point.
Yeah, it's brand new.
Right.
Yeah.
As it fits, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're rehabbing,
Well, and even
it makes sense to keep the overhead.
Yeah,
what the waivers permit the continuation of overhead utilities serving the existing house. So they chained, that waiver would not. be
Go
granted
away.
Once they
Where how they're
changed
at.
that, if they tore that house down. So,
So a new, if they were to start over.
yeah.
I would make that clear in the motion.
Then, C, so we have a contiguous wetland buffer that runs all the way across the lot, so that's the one we would mark. Be the one that abuts the development. There's this little space inside the middle.
Right.
Do we need to mark that one to, or just mark this one twice as good?
Non-wet. You can.
Yeah,
you
I
can
see.
vote it
Yeah, I
down
would
here.
think just mark
See
that,
what I'm getting at?
yeah, yeah.
This is all buffer, don't go that way. That's kind of what I was getting at.
And is it wooded?
This is actually, so this is like an older pasture and somebody's been in there and flattened it.
But
I don't know.
the buffer line that you'll be marking,
Um,
how are you gonna mark it?
some of it is wooded and some of it is not. Let's see, no, just this one little stretch in here is not wooded. The rest of it is wooded. Yeah, so we were in the trees. So when we were in, where it's in the trees, aren't, maybe in that opening, take a look and see if we have to put a
Maybe
post in.
one or two posts.
Mhm.
Post in, we'll put a post if there's not something decent.
Okay,
Sounds good.
good.
We had one that was all open recently and it was a bit of a discussion about how to mark it, so.
It's a challenge.
I'm not a fan of posts with little markers on them.
We remember from the last.
Yeah.
meeting. So do we just make a motion to approve the waiver request?
Yes, but just specify what it is and
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the waiver request to permit the continuation of overhead utilities serving the existing house.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, get your waiver.
And then our approval criteria would be marking the buffer wetlands, paying us our money. What else?
we would need the state subdivision approval, which is
Okay.
pending. And I did see the application, so I know it's in. There are no missing checklist items. We would need the professional stamps and signatures on final plan and the waiver and conditions of approval.
So that's the list of conditions.
And waiver.
Do you want me to say that all in a row?
Yes.
Or actually, there's one
Is it-
other thing here on the checklist.
Yep.
About buffer strip.
So
We hadn't. We show this as a front setback, but the 35 feet in the front of the
Oh,
lot
okay.
is actually
So I would make a motion to approve application 502-24 Birds Landing LLC with the following conditions, professional stamps and what did you say?
stamps and signatures.
Signatures on the plan, the approved waiver on the plan,
And the conditions.
and the conditions, the state subdivision approval, the marking of the wetlands, buffer, and the payment of $20.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I have.
Yes. Could you,
Finding of fact.
Think about a few findings of facts.
I never quite understood this, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier than others. One finding might be that the ZBA has granted variances.
Okay.
But that's kind of leading into your decision to grant the subdivision. You wouldn't have done it without those.
I would say that yes, the CBA's granted variances, the sightlines are likely not an issue just based on the road and how it is cleared, the lot is cleared.
And they don't need a CUP for wetlands.
They don't,
there are
yeah,
no
no wetlands impact.
Those are great findings.
Does it also? We nailed it.
Yes.
All right.
Clear.
I don't think we have in the past.
Sometimes we do. It's, if there's, I think that's good.
All right, we got any old business?
No.
Any other correspondence or other business?
I know you would put in the subdivision regs.
So I know we've talked about wanting to start, so I put a tiny section in.
This is kind of small.
I know, but it's 9 o'clock, so. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll save that for the finale.
Okay.
So we included, I just wanted to give you the very first sections of the definition and site plan regulations. So you can look at the overall structure of the table of contents, how the documents are laid out, and then the definitions section, which are pretty. So they are they follow pretty similar structure. Part of this is just maybe thinking about how we want to approach the revisions. So whether we want to try to tackle subdivision and then site plan or the other way around, or go through them kind of in parallel. In some sense, so they start with definitions, they go into general requirements, and then procedures.
I don't know, my thought would be to do one and then the other, because when you do the second, you might want to say, wait a minute, what did we say in the site plan? And there might be you're reviewing it again, but all of a sudden something comes up that you hadn't thought about when you went through the other section.
It does seem in some things that the subdivision regulations are more robust, and things in the site plan regulations refer to the subdivision ones. At least.
Other than the subdivision regulations need a purpose. I do have some language on that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking for some direction on how we should tackle this. Or if there are any individuals who have a special interest in working on it outside of meetings and then bringing proposals back.
Well, I said that I would, I just haven't. Actually, I was looking for when we were doing work on some of the buffer stuff several years ago in 2020 or whatever. There were things that we were going to put into the wetland CUP that we said, that's really more of a site plan thing. So I was doing some digging too.
And I do have a list of a few things I came up with over time. And then I think I also have one that Brian left me. Of just things that need to be fixed. So we can try to start with those if that's easier, or if we should just go through. I don't know how to approach it. It's
You know,
a
I
project no matter
probably
how you set it up.
should look at the list. And see where that stuff falls and, so you get some, because you start going through the regulation and, okay, it's where, list of things that come up as a problem in the meeting, well.
That's another part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do we,
you know,
as we're sort of dealing with currently some new things that have come up and it's like, okay, well. How do we address it?
Want to try to set up a time where you and I can meet and kind of go over the lists of things we've identified so far and maybe bring. Next meeting, we can bring a list of at least target areas.
Sure.
Start.
Guess I have a meeting with you next week and Tom on other stuff.
I think I speak for the rest of us when I say we deeply appreciate this.
I would say it's not a bad idea for all of the members to become more intimately
Just-
familiar with these documents.
You know, read.
You and I should maybe we should maybe sit down just in general, but like. Yeah, get me more deeply involved with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I know everyone has lives outside of the planning board, but.
Thursdays. So minutes. I think Sandy, you were gonna come back with,
Yeah, and I
you had
did.
so many changes that you came back and those.
Yeah, it actually wasn't a whole,
They've
actually wasn't,
incorporated here,
yes.
and
And
I
I,
see the track changes.
and I think that actually I found someplace where it changed something and it, the verb tense or something didn't get changed, so well.
It could change Craig's.
Yeah, we can find where it
I
was.
didn't. I will make that mine. It's in the March one, right?
Yeah, he wasn't up.
You know what other is,
Oh,
how do you spell this thing?
Where did you send it?
Let's see.
and every place I looked at it was spelled wrong, so I don't know.
Well, the computer, you can probably just do
Right.
a global search for it and just check.
Yeah,
Well, I'll find it if it's spelled wrong.
First name. I
Well,
don't know.
missed.
I don't know.
That's okay, we'll figure it out. It's on a wild goose chase. Francisco.
Imagine if it wasn't.
Yeah, this is, yeah, I was just about to say.
Well, and, yeah, and the March one's line 59. Is where, the word locate, it really should have a D on it, located.
What page is that, Sandy?
Cause
The numbers restart. In a season.
oh, yeah.
Are they cutting off?
they just cut off.
Yeah, so what,
oh, page 2.
page 2,
on the
Actual
morning
59, not 159.
is 59.
and you're that they have not located,
Yeah,
just located, it's like.
right, it's the D,
You have not both pieces?
right.
Instead of the, what's right last name?
Francisco, they all look right.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to find this out.
Well-
Or are they all wrong?
Or maybe you fill a date on his application.
I think that's how you spell it.
Yeah, that's what I looked and I'm like, spelled right.
FRANCISCO.
Yeah, it's like San Francisco, but the
Yeah,
Francisco.
Well,
Wrong?
I don't, no, I everywhere. I
I think
didn't,
we gave it our best effort to find it and haven't, so.
I wonder if he spelled his name, or somebody spelled his name wrong.
What does it say on his, what does it say on his stamp? Where's his stamp? No, FRANCIO. Hold on, hold on.
Oh, there he is. FRANCISCO. So it's just what I felt.
Yeah.
A minute ago.
RAN,
I can sing it on the stamp.
yeah, no,
How does he spell Craig?
CRAIG.
Okay.
I can do,
I think,
search.
yeah, I think we put forth
We,
an effort.
Yeah.
any other changes? I'll make a motion to approve, actually, I can't, I wasn't there, sorry. I resigned for now.
Make a motion.
Oh, I,
Make a motion to approve the March 21st minutes.
Edited.
As amended, as amended.
I'll second.
As amended.
Oh, I found it.
Congrats.
Is it one
Where is it?
spot?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
on a mission.
All
So,
right. Anyway, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So where is,
Opposed?
Okay, who was the second? I'm so sorry.
Standing there.
I seconded.
on page 10, where it lists
There.
numbers 1 through 7 as the items to review. And
Uh-huh.
one, there's an extra C.
How did you find that?
What line we do?
It's, I actually can't.
What page is that?
Page 10.
It actually has an S instead of, it has an S before the C.
And a C after the S.
All right, so you got what page there.
No, it's Francisco, so it should
Page
be
10, and what line number does it say?
23.
So where it says the
120.
board reviewed requirements and then there's numbers 1 through 7,
Oh, yeah.
it's in number 1.
It should be FRANCISCO.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's-
we'll fix them. So, and it was
I
the only
did
one.
not, did not vote on that. All right. April 18th. Dawn was not here.
I was not.
Oh, are you abstaining from that?
What's that?
From 321 or?
No, I would say I.
No, he's.
Okay.
Yeah.
we go ahead and-
Kip was the, yeah. Kip was
April
the one
18th.
abstaining. Look, Mark,
Before 18.
I sent her my changes already.
Danny, did you already send it to?
For April 18th,
Yeah.
I didn't send her them.
Okay.
Um,
Do you have some?
I do have some. Just, with Route 3A, just need to be consistent with how we,
Oh, yeah.
note it because it's, done differently.
3-A.
That's usually how I do it.
Or do we do 3A? However,
On the GIS, it says 3-A.
you know, DOT doesn't even do it consistently. It's crazy. 'Cause
I think we typically do 3-A. I don't know.
3-A, okay.
That's what we tend to do.
That's fine.
Then it's okay.
That's fine.
in our-
Yeah, as just be consistent, that's fine. And just, where 34 and 35, wetland buffer impacts and remove the word reductions.
Wetlands, for the blasting wetland buffer impacts
Right.
and wetland buffer.
So beginning of line 35, reduction should.
Take out the word reductions and it'll be wetland buffer impacts. For the second, it says wetland impacts and wetland buffer impacts.
So
So from that line 34,
we,
It's really just 35, change reductions to impact.
Oh, right, okay.
Do we need a conditional use permit for wetland impacts too, or is it just the buffers?
It's for both.
It's for
We
both.
do both.
Describe
may
it.
may I ask a question, line 34, is it wetland buffer impacts and wetland buffer? Oh, no, it's the same.
Should say wetland impacts and wetland buffer.
Oh, okay.
Or it could probably be wetland,
Wetland and buffer.
wetland buffer impacts, so you only write impacts once.
That's okay.
And I think that may be it. Yeah, that's it.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 18th.
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
I will, I'll abstain. Those opposed? And I, at the end of line 72, I'd just like to say thank you. That's what Mr. Reynolds asked the board if it could continue with construction from one of the side walls. That was,
I know.
or did not grant permission.
Anything else? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good work. Yes.